Okay, this question's been coming up a lot lately. Moving to Florida still has a concern. Should I rent or should I buy? We're getting after that next. Hey everybody, my name's Cunha. I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Florida, and if you're looking for a channel to tell you everything like what it's like to live, play, eat, sleep, and buy real estate on the Gulf Coast, then this is the channel for you. So go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and make sure you tap that little bell to be sure you're notified every time a new video comes out. I'm getting calls from people every day, and I absolutely love it. They're asking what it's like to live here, what they can expect, and hey, do I rent or do I buy? So, if you've got a question that I can answer for you, you've got to call, text, or email because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast. Okay, so like I said at the outset, we're going to discuss a little bit about whether you should rent or buy or short-term rent. I'd like to briefly touch on whether there's a bubble or not because quite honestly, as much talk as there is out on the internet and throughout YouTube about bubble this, bubble that, I don't know if I see that. At least in our area. That's the other thing about these blanket cover statements when people say, the bubble's coming, it's gonna hit. Where is it gonna hit? Every area of the country is not the same. So to put everybody under that same umbrella of things happening is not fair. This market, especially here in Southwest Florida, I went through it last week. We have 44% cash purchases here. That's pretty major. That's almost half the purchases are in cash. That's not gonna hurt anything when it comes to real estate because equity positions are so strong. So when we talk about bubbles, maybe that's reserved for another conversation. Okay, so again, we're talking about whether you should buy or rent when you come to town. Now, there's a couple things to consider. Number one, do you have a scenario that allows you to purchase a home before ever coming? That should be a pretty easy decision at that point because then you could buy and wait to sell the home back home, or you'll have that ability to move your things before you complete the sale back home. That's not ideal for most people. So in that case, you're usually stuck with the where am I going to stay until I find my place scenario. And that's where now the short-term rentals like Airbnb and VRBO, they're coming into play pretty big. I would say the last handful of people I've spoken to that are making their move here, they're going to do the short-term rental until they find their place. In fact, two of my newest clients, you heard about them last week, Zach and Joey, well, they went about their process of a short-term rental and they found their home. So we're going to have this thing closed right as their rental is pretty much finished on their timeline with VRBO. Then they get to move into their new home. So it worked out perfectly for them. There are a lot of different ways to do this. So talk it over with your real estate professional and find out what works best for you. Now, one of the things that's bringing up a lot of concern, and this isn't just Florida, this is all over the country, is extension of the eviction ban. And the reason this is so important or such a big deal is a lot of people tend to think that there's enough homeowners, investors that are tied up in this and not being paid, that it's going to force them to sell the properties. It's going to give more opportunity to purchase a property from one of these hurting landlords. Well, I don't know how to feel about this because I too am a landlord. I have a rental. It's been rented successfully for probably about 5 years now. Great tenants in there. There's been no trouble through this entire pandemic timeframe. And once again, this is why that blanket statement doesn't cover everybody. Many renters here in Florida and certainly other areas are still renting their places the same way they always were. They want to stay in the place they are. My tenants happen to be continuing on a very, very fair rental rate. So that keeps people in place too. I don't want to force prices up. And those landlords out there that are forcing prices up, shame on them. They're going to end up losing loyal renters and in this particular case could end up not getting paid at all. Anyway, this whole eviction ban was extended out to October 3rd now. So once again, it's 2 more months that these landlords will not be getting paid. And the unfortunate thing is 50% of these landlords are individual owners, not corporations that have deep pockets, individuals, moms and pops, people that need to have this monthly payment to pay the bills, pay the mortgage, pay the expenses that go around having a rental. So yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit. Just waiting to see what happens at the other side of this, if there is an end in sight. Everything again being blamed on the pandemic. So the one thing I keep seeing all over the place, and I keep seeing people talking about it, is all the help wanted signs out there. So if we have all these jobs available and there's all these people that can't pay their rent and their mortgage, where's the missing link? Why is that happening? Why is that not covering it? What I'm hearing partially is due to the fact that people think they're not being paid enough for these jobs. Well, when the government gives you welfare and an additional amount beyond that that makes it more than what you'd make going to work, you stay home. That's what the problem was. So we need to get to a point where we go back to accepting what the pay is for what we do and being happy about doing it. Because right now, you're showing up to restaurants, you can't get service, you can't even get into a building in some cases because nobody wants to work. We've got a ton of jobs down here, and the Lee County School District has openings. The Lee County government has openings. There's all kinds of positions now that are showing openings and doing job fairs that once were never available because they need people to work. In order to make society work, we have to go to a job. We have to do our part. Now, one of the caveats about this whole eviction ban being extended is you have to be in an area of high COVID transmission. And from what I read, that's 90% of the country. So basically the whole country is under this extension. You have to make your best effort to pay the rent. You have to make your best efforts to find rental assistance. You have to show that you would be homeless or be in shared living quarters if you were to be evicted. So there are some caveats to qualifying for this, but as you can hear, most of these things are going to apply across the board. If you're somebody in a situation, all those things are going to be what your condition is. On top of all this, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have prohibited landlords from evicting anybody until the end of September, I believe September 30th, 2021. So it's not just the government. Now, two of the biggest lending divisions are doing the same. On top of this, foreclosures have been pushed to the end of September as well. And in some cases, these lenders can do their own extensions for as long as they want. It's kind of their guidelines. I happen to know somebody that had their mortgage payment pushed off to the end of the year, and it was going to be backloaded at the end of the loan. So there won't be this big amount to have to pay right up front once this thing's over. So in some cases, things do work out if you happen to have the right lender. Now, when it comes to buying a home, there's going to be a lot of challenges. We have to look at first buying a resale home. You have to find the right location. And again, availability of homes is making that location part rather difficult. Nice locations, nobody wants to move. So you're probably not going to find that ideal home in that ideal location for you. Then you have to look at the amenities that are offered. Well, I am going to Florida, I want a pool. Well, what if a pool's not available? Would you be willing to get the home now and put the pool on later, even if that means a year or two from now? That might be something you have to consider doing. Then you want to consider what's the maintenance on this home going to be like, because used homes are generally going to have maintenance issues that'll pop up. You have to not only be prepared to do it, but have the finances behind it to make the repairs, because we just don't know what that looks like. So absolutely get a home inspection done, negotiate the best you can to get the things that you need from that inspection so that you can keep more money in your pocket later. The other thing about a resale home is the insurances. If this home is older, you need to know whether it has the third nail in the hurricane straps. That could be as much as a $600 to $900 savings on your insurance every year. So those little things will impact your insurance rates. Elevation of the home will impact your insurance rates. So check all these little nuances out and get your complete budget in place before making a final decision on a resale home. New home, that's no different. There's tons of challenges now. Availability being number one, and right along with that is location, just like it was with resale homes. There's also additional things to consider. Are you even able to lock in a price right now? As you heard in the previous videos, these builders aren't even able to lock a price. They'll tell you a starting price, they'll tell you what it could be, but there's also escalation clauses. There is also just a reservation, so you're holding your place in line to sign a contract later, most likely at a higher price, just due to the deficit of the supplies that are making these homes. That's the other thing that goes into this, is the timeline. When are you actually going to get this home? The delays are all coming one after another. If you can't get the parts to put it together, then it's the inspections. If it's not the inspections, then it's a government agency that's delaying their processes. There are delays after delays after delays, and this isn't just houses. If you've been out in the market trying to buy most anything, there's delays on everything. I even heard the other week that the GMC and Chevy truck manufacturing plants were shutting down because they couldn't find a chip that would be able to build these trucks. Are you kidding me? When is this going to go back to normal? When are people just going to do their jobs and get everything back on track? Now, one of the other things that can happen with new construction, especially if you are trying to time it out without guidance, is you go in and you do a rate lock on your interest rate, and the home's not going to finish on time. Now your lock is no good. It's going to cost you more money to relock later. So make sure you're in really good communication with the builder, your real estate agent, whoever it is that is your advisor, and make sure that you don't lock that rate too early and end up getting burned on the backside. The other thing you need to know is that with new construction, you're taking on all the fees. So in most traditional real estate transactions, the seller takes on a good chunk of the title fees and doc stamps and things like that. Not when you go through a builder. The builder passes them all on to you. But then they will offer you some kind of a discount through their affiliate. So they have a lender and a title company. They will push this on you to make sure that you use them. And obviously, if you're taking on all these extra fees and they give all that money back to you, it sounds really good. Check with other lenders though, because in some cases you can get a better rate outside of the builder that will in the long term save you more money. So you got to do your homework, get somebody you can trust to advise you, and make sure that you're making the best decision when you're going through new construction. Now here's a funny thing I just learned this week is that these builders, some of the biggest builders in the nation, are becoming landlords. They're either buying or building homes to rent out. So these particular builders that are supposed to be building your home because you're ordering it so that you have a place to live when you move to Florida are now doing rentals. So their supplies and their manpower and all that is being pushed towards rentals so that they have a whole nother income stream aside from building the homes. So that's another thing that you have to consider if you're going to order a home. Many of these delays could be because of other projects. And it doesn't look like that's slowing down anytime soon. In fact, there were 50,000 homes built in the last year. And that is 2/3 more than the previous 4 years. So 66% higher construction of rental homes just in the last year. That should tell you where that market's going. So these homes are being referred to as BFR homes, built for rent. Charlotte County has 25 of them coming up. Fort Myers has 63 in their project, and Cape Coral has another 72. Those are all built for rent projects that are being done just on the agenda going forward. There's one right now going on by Neal Communities called Mangrove Estates. In Mangrove Estates, they are doing 3 and 4 bedroom homes, 1,531 square feet on the small side, 2,064 on the top side, and the average rent in this place is $2,570 a month. Wow, that's more than double my mortgage. So again, rent isn't for everybody, but if it's something you want to do, make sure that you're willing to pay this premium to have a newly constructed home in either a subdivision or a community that's being offered by one of these BFR builders. Now, another company that's been going wild in the area is First Key Homes. I've seen their signs previously. It was in front of a builder that I knew very well from the area, D.R. Horton Express Homes. Didn't think much of it. I'm thinking, okay, this is some kind of property management deal going on. Turns out that they're another one of these investment firms that's just buying up all of these new construction homes and renting them back. They have very strict guidelines as far as getting in as well. It's not just background anymore. They want your income to be 3 times the amount of what the rent is. That's pretty steep. There's a lot of people that might not be able to afford this. Imagine if your rent with these people is starting in the $1,500 range and just going up from there. That means you need $4,500 a month. Now, it is household income, so if you happen to have roommates, If you're married and your other half is also working, those are all factors that will play into this. But that's a lot of money that you're going to need just to rent a place. Now, in this same scenario, you can have up to 3 pets in your home. If you get written approval, there will be allowed 2 people per room with 1 additional person at the end. So if you've got 3 bedrooms, you can have up to 7 people in that home. That's your cap. And you need at least a $100,000 renter insurance policy in order to rent this home. The other thing is if you happen to need a guarantor to sign off, a co-signer, then the income needs to be 4 times the amount of rent. So this can get pretty pricey for both you and anybody that's going to help you guarantee getting this home. Another very new thing in this market, you've been hearing this thing, iBuyer, iBuyer, iBuyer. Yeah, it's an online way that you have a cash offer given to you for your home. If you accept it, they basically take over your home, they do all the marketing to resell it, whatever else they're going to do. What they're not telling you up front, you're going to get 10% lower on the fair market value of your home by using them. On top of this, your fees can go as high as 12%. 8 and 9 are kind of average, but as much as 12%. The traditional real estate commission is 6%. So are you really saving money? No, but what you're getting is a faster transaction. You can name the closing time from 10 days to 60 days. The repairs, they can actually make you do the repairs. In a traditional transaction, nobody has to do any repairs. You can request them, doesn't mean you're getting them. But in this case, if they say they want a repair done, in order to make that deal go through, guess who's doing a repair? The one thing that doesn't change in this kind of transaction is the closing costs and the payoff amounts. Other than that, these pros and cons are pretty straight. You either want to close it faster on your own terms for less money, or you want to get the most money and let things play out the way they play out in a traditional transaction. So that's a little bit about what's going on here in Florida in this real estate market. And if you're looking to rent or buy, hopefully this information was helpful to some extent. If you need more information, check out one of these other 2 videos. And if there's anything that I can do for you, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.